much talked about World Cup is on, and the good news is Sri Lanka are third in the table. Of course, having said that, lots of issues involving the batting. The Sri Lankans will have to resolve it. What's the way forward? Let's find out. Let's talk cricket. Hi, I'm Roshan Abeysinghe. Let's recap on the New Zealand game. Yes, it was a poor performance by Sri Lanka, but there are a few issues that I like everyone to focus on and remember. One of the main things was the toss. The second thing was the surface. Now, I tried to look at the pitch and the outfield, and honestly, I couldn't find any different because it was green. It had a lighter green on the pitch, and the outfield was slightly darker. That's the kind of surface the Sri Lankans were given. Very, very different to some of the surfaces the other teams had. So in my opinion, and in most people's opinion, the toss was extremely vital. Now we are talking about a side that is outstanding with the ball. New Zealand in conditions like that, their fast bowlers were good, they were hitting the deck and they were hitting the right areas. But I like you to focus on one particular dismissal where I want to emphasize on how tough and challenging this pitch was. And that dismissal was Kusal Mendis's. Now if you look at that dismissal, he had no chance. He had absolutely no chance. First up, that delivery in line, had to play, bounced, good catch in the slips. Now that kind of surface, it's not going to be easy if you're a subcontinental batsman. So what Sri Lanka needed to do was to try and bat the 50 overs, and in that context, I liked Thiri and Karunaratne opening, though Lairu Thirimana very unfortunate out of the second ball. But on the other side of the coin, Dimuth Karunaratne played the perfect innings on that surface. It's not a surface that you're going to blast the bowling. Kusal Perera may be an exception where he's given the license to do that. He's been told go and play a few shots, try and put the bowlers off target. That's what he tried to do. Unfortunately, he fell away and got out. But when you look at a surface like that, teams need to tell themselves, look, this is not 300. This is not a pitch that you're going to score 350. But instead, this is a pitch that our team or we will try to get to 250 and maybe try and challenge. Now, the second point I like to emphasize is, now some of you watching might think, okay, how did New Zealand bat so easily then? See, you know, it's a psychological thing. When you're chasing only 136 and you have nothing to lose, you can come out and express yourself. I mean, if New Zealand was chasing 236 or 256, the approach would have been different. The Sri Lankan approach would have been different. Sri Lanka would have been able to have the luxury of having a few fielders down at third man, down at square leg. But if you watched, Sri Lanka didn't have anybody at third man, no one at square leg. You know why? Because they needed to take those catches. They needed to dismiss the batsman. So when you're defending a small score of 136, the approach is different. So that was one of the issues that was plaguing Sri Lanka. But having said that, again, let me come back to the Sri Lankan batting. That was not a 136 pitch. It was not a pitch that you can justify batting just for 29 overs. You got to bat your 50 overs. You got to have runs on the board. You got to support your bowlers. Sadly, yes, New Zealand was the better side. They outdid Sri Lanka in every department, but sadly, Sri Lanka did not live up to full expectation on the opening game of that World Cup against New Zealand. Now the focus is on Afghanistan. Honestly, I thought Sri Lanka grabbed victory from the jaws of defeat. That's how I felt it, honestly. Because take a look at that game. At 144 for 2, or let's look at the opening partnership. Perfect. I liked Kusal Perera opening with Dimuth Karunaratne. Against New Zealand, I felt Thirimana and Karunaratne were good on that pitch because it was moving around. But look at what Kusal Perera did. Came in, played a few shots, put Afghanistan completely off target and completely off balance. Karunaratne's dismissal was a bit soft, but then Thirimana came in, looked good, and he supported, knocked the ball around. At 144 for 2, the shot he played was a bit casual. That was unnecessary, but I thought he had done his job because we had a set Kusal Perera at the other end. But what happened after that? Mayhem. Unbelievable. What's going on with Kusal Mendis and Angelo Matthews and also Dhananjay De Silva? Aren't they valuing their place in this side, or are they not taking their batting seriously? I really don't know. Now these are three players of quality. They are players who have proven themselves. Matthews is one of the best batsmen in the world. Dhananjay De Silva got hundreds against top teams. Kusal Mendis has shown us time and time again that he is a class act. So then what should they be doing? 144 for 2, 159 for 6. No, I don't accept that. I just don't accept that. Sri Lanka needed or should have been looking at 300 plus. And the next good thing that happened to Sri Lanka, in my opinion, was the rain. You know, when the game goes, when the game's happening, one team always has the momentum, whether you're batting or bowling. Afghanistan had the momentum, and all Sri Lanka needed was that break. Rain broke the momentum, and see what happened after the rain. Suranga Lakmal came in, threw his bat around a little bit, got some runs, useful runs, and got Sri Lanka just over that 200 mark, and I thought that was critical. That was seriously critical. And you end the innings on a high, and then that momentum, the confidence tends to rub on the team. And then you go out remembering the finish rather than what happened in the middle. And that's exactly what Sri Lanka did. They went in. The Afghanistan openers, well, they looked a little bit dangerous, few shots played, but Lasith Malinga used his experience, and man, what about Thisara Pereira's catch? You know, little things in a game sometimes changes the entire complexion. You know, it gives a new belief, it lifts the team, and Thisara Pereira's catch did just that to that Sri Lankan team. And Nuwan Pradeep's inclusion, masterly. Bowled those lengths, hit the deck hard, bowled just outside the off stump, found the outside edge. Only little area that I thought the Sri Lankans made a mistake was when they were bowling to the left-handed Najibullah. None of them went round the wicket. None of them tried to bowl straight to him. They all went wide of the crease, over the wicket, was bowling, say, about a foot outside the off stump. And Najibullah, if you saw him, didn't use his feet, was expanding himself and playing a few shots, and he got to 40. That was the only little glitch, if I were to call it. But other than that, the Sri Lankans were practically outstanding. They were fantastic. And of course, a few extras, I wouldn't say no. But in the end, I like what Lasith Malinga did. I like what Isuru Udana did. And I also liked what Nuwan Pradeep did. In a low-scoring game, you would give the only half-centurion the man of the match. That's the normal thing because batsmen aren't scoring. But I always thought that Nuwan Pradeep was the man of the match, and the adjudicators did just that. Sri Lanka will be happy. Sri Lanka will be happy with the win, but they cannot be over the moon with it. They got a lot of work to do. But again, when you win, it tends to rub off and it tends to rub on you, just like a defeat. You know, sometimes when you're losing, you just don't know how to win. And when you start winning, it's a habit and it tends to happen. So in that mood, though Sri Lanka hadn't beaten Pakistan in a single World Cup game, I believe if they had played Pakistan at Bristol, Sri Lanka could have beaten them because they had confidence, they had the entire team going like a well-oiled machine, the wheels were in motion, the bowling was good, and it was a matter of going out there and expressing themselves. Sadly, the rain was a spoiler and the rain was the decider, though I feel in that mood the Sri Lankans could have created something special by beating Pakistan. Time to look at the rest of the games in the World Cup. Australia, New Zealand, the only unbeaten two teams. England, one of the favourites, struggled. India has played one game and won quite convincingly. South Africa struggling. In that context, Sri Lanka, well done. Number 3 in the list. I'm hoping Sri Lanka can continue that. But having said that, let's try and focus the West Indies-Australia game, the big one, as far as I was concerned. Again, I spoke about momentum, the importance of the momentum. Now, look at how that game panned out. Australia were on their knees at one stage, half of the side out for nothing. But then Steve Smith comes in, he stabilizes the whole thing, he builds the innings for Coulter Nile to finish it off, and my word, how well did he finish it off? What a magnificent knock. He completely took the sting out of the West Indies bowling, and the pendulum kept swinging towards the Australian side. The momentum, as I said, just kept going and going and going. And when the innings ended, the West Indies hadn't faced a ball, but I thought they were a beaten side. And when they came out and battered, Chris Gayle, the way he batted, and the rest of the batting, well, Shea Hope did get some runs, but he was put under a lot of pressure by the short ball. The West Indies didn't look like winning to me. They didn't look like winning to me at all. Australia had really stung them hard with that late resistance. Again, we talk about the momentum. So the World Cup is turning out to be very, very interesting. Favourites have lost, though they have a lot of time still left. India, as I said, just one game. Who will be the final four? That's our question. And that's it for this week's edition. Well, before I go, I must remind you, if you have suggestions, comments, comment below. And don't forget, like, subscribe and share. This is Roshan Abeysinghe signing off for Let's Talk Cricket.